So you've heard about this magical promised game, the Bazaar, a new giant in the auto-battling space crafted by the brilliant Reynad and his team at Tempo. But what actually is the Bazaar? In short, the Bazaar is an asynchronous auto-battler. It was the first of its kind, but after revealing their plans a little early, there are examples that will push through quickly, like Super Auto Pets, which you can look to for a rough outline of how things work. There are two phases in an async auto-battler: the shopping phase and the battling phase, kind of like most auto-battlers. In the shopping phase, you upgrade your team, board, hero, whatever it is you're playing as. When you're done, you click a button to go into the next battle, and the game will either find you a live opponent for you to face who has the rough same power level as you, or it finds a ghost for you to fight with the same rough power level. A ghost is simply a recording of a player who has previously played. So maybe I played the game yesterday and had 3 basic items for my first fight, and today you go into your first battle and the game picks my ghost to battle you. These two phases repeat until you either reach a target number of wins or losses, ending your run with a win or loss depending on which you hit first. The thing that makes this asynchronous is that at any point, usually during the shopping phase, you can turn the game off and return to it later and pick up your run from where you were, which is completely unlike traditional auto-battlers where you are locked into a lobby, usually with 8 people, until the bitter end. So those are the basic principles behind the async auto-battler that was first designed for the Bazaar, but there is a reason the Bazaar isn't out yet. It is perhaps the most ambitious version of an async auto-battler to date. For everything here on, I will be talking about the Bazaar we know. The game entered closed development this year, so much of this is subject to change. That being said, I'm going to be talking generally about concepts, so I don't expect much of this to be too different from the final game. In the Bazaar's shopping phase, known as the day phase, you are actually shopping. You have a number of encounters, last we saw to be 5, before each battle phase, known as a night phase. When you start one of your 5 encounters, you are faced with usually 3 different merchants or events. This actually creates a need for some game knowledge. The merchants will suggest what items they might sell. For example, Andy might only sell small items, but you will want to rely on your game knowledge as to whether or not any small items are of use to you. Or perhaps you would rather go to the weapon merchant, or just take part in an eating contest and gain some max HP. The strategies are endless, and different for every run. After selecting which merchant or event you wish to go to, you will then see options for that encounter. So the decision making is multiple levels deep. For merchants, you will usually see 3 items they have for sale, from which you may purchase 1. For the events, there are sometimes options for how hard you want to go on that event. Do you want to gamble all of your gold for a bigger payout? Do you want to win the eating contest and gain all the health in the world but maybe become slowed? There is usually a cost to the higher levels of events, which is normally gold, but you get that big reward. Lastly, we once had a daytime NPC option where you would go into battles. Maybe you'd fight a thug or go after a bounty contract, which would see you take your current board and fight a mostly known computer-controlled board for some payout at the end. This encounter changed wildly during the open development phase, so its details are unknown, but I would expect to see it in some manner or another in the full release. So you've gone through 5 encounters, gaining gold, buying items, and taking part in events. You now have a strong board of items that have some synergy, and it's time to battle. After your final encounter, clicking through to the next phase starts this combat. Previously, these had been against ghosts, but the Tempo team have suggested this might be against live players in the future. Only time will tell. During the battle, your board will automatically fight the other board, and after a set period of time, if no one has won, a desert storm starts to blow in and deals damage to both players to ensure the game ends at some point. Another unknown is how many wins or losses in these battles you will need to end your run, or if it's even decided on a win-loss metric. But regardless, after your battle, a new day will start, with 5 more encounters and a battle at the end of it. You will then repeat that, growing your board, becoming more powerful, gaining synergies, and maybe even pivot into an entirely new, more powerful build until the run ends. I am releasing this video with updated information now because the Bazaar team recently announced the game would be pushed back until 2024. After a number of games being pushed out lately ahead of their time, showing how unfinished they were, I for one am glad the team at Tempo are making sure the Bazaar is ready before releasing it. From what we hear, it sounds like they've largely finished dealing with their technical debt that came with the early, easy-to-iterate vertical slice, and they are now looking towards a game that can be played by the masses, but still requires a lot of work. So, I look forward to playing the Bazaar with all of you sometime in 2024. Until then, expect us to cover any updates we get, so if you want to stay up to date with the game, and all the little bits that even the official channels don't tell you, the best thing you can do is click subscribe and turn on your notifications, as we don't post much outside of the Bazaar these days. If you want more details on the game, albeit potentially outdated by the time it releases, check out this playlist for all of our Bazaar content so far, and I'll see you in the next one. Ciao.
Thanks for watching. Play the fucking Bazaar.